3, 2, 1. We are back with a hat hard on. We are back today for another episode of our Art Podcast. Sorry that I've not been around for a bit. I've been gallivanting around Europe with the band and doing some other creative things and whatnot. But we are back in the realm of 1853 today with one of my favourite people in the world, an amazing human, my good friend Dylan Lisle, who is an extraordinary painter. He beautifully bridges the gap between historical craft and the modern world in his work. He is an artist who masterfully uses the slow layered atmospheric techniques of the old masters. And he's sat here with us today. How the devil are you, sir?
Oh, I'm as good as your notes, mate.
Hello, yeah, I've prepared for this one.
I like it.
Because not only are you one of my favourite people in the world, you've become a close friend in the few years I've known you since I've been here. Oh, I'll continue flirting. Yeah, okay. You best get used to that. Right. But I just want to thank you for your time today, because we've wanted to arrange this podcast for a while and things haven't lined up for a bit, but we are finally here. But before we go any further, how are you? How have you been?
I'm good, mate. Busy.
Yep, as always.
Always. 7 days a week, arting, and I think it's the tattooing that adds the extra 2 days onto my week.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm just doing 7 days. And
have you been hanging around with Craig David?
You were going to say that. I knew it.
Yeah, just
but
make sure.
I'm busy, mate. I'm busy, and that's good.
No, it is
Keeps
good.
It
is good to be busy, especially doing creative things. And if that is the way your worlds are aligning, then that is good. If you're only complaining that you're tired because you're doing good, productive things, I class that as a good thing. So let's get right into it, man. So you are an oil painter. You do a lot of exceptionally great work. And on my note sheets here, it's more of a classical Baroque Gothic style. And you've put years into studying loads of techniques. And we're gonna get into that in a bit. But first of all, should we go back to where it all started? Do you remember where you first took an interest into art?
Yeah, I do. And it's funny this, because my mum had a trunk full of loads of childhood memories and all my old drawings and stuff like that. But in there was a photograph, and because I grew up my early days in a pub, so I think I was upstairs quite a lot while they were doing the bar. She's got this brilliant photo of me in the living room with the big mushroom hair, painted at this easel. And it's obviously it's just a photograph of where it started, and it's. Do you know what I mean?
That's so cool.
And I think that's where I started being comfortable being on my own with, your own creative process. I love that photograph.
That's brilliant that exists. Like, as you just said there, that is where it all started. And the fact that you've had a career that has spanned, 30 years? 25, 30 years or something?
Steady on, mate.
Yeah. No,
probably.
I'll push.
Probably.
But the fact that you've got some evidence from right where it began, that's a beautiful thing to have and hold on to. So from messing about at a young age, starting like that, obviously you stuck with it and stuff, and then time goes on, college and all that. But when we go a little bit further on, you end up going to art school in Aberdeen?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How was that? Because that's not like you just go into a local uni or something.
No.
You've moved away.
I think it was chosen because it was about as far away from Doncaster as I could get. But yeah, I mean, I went up there on my own, and I was quite young and a bit daft, and I think it was a great place for me to find out what else exists out there. It broadens you, it gives you a different worldview, and that was massively important for me, because I was heading the wrong way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being surrounded by people with similar interests and people that were actually just behaving better and that were more, in some cases, had a better education than me, because I come from a council estate.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of, this is something that I'd never seen before. And I was kind of acting out a little bit when I first went up there. So it was massively important going up there. I don't know whether the art school thing per se was helpful, but I think the environment was. You know, it took me out of an environment where I don't think I was going to do very well, and put me somewhere where I could see options that weren't previously there.
Yeah, I think it's one of them as well with that. It is who you're surrounded by, what that energy is. Like the areas you put in, like, because we all know estates and stuff, they can be wonderful places. There can be great community spirit there and stuff, but there is a lot of bad influence that can go on there, and taking out of that element and going somewhere where it is like you with other painters and creatives and stuff, it just puts you in that fresh setting. And if everyone's doing that, then that's the focus essentially.
I mean, I wasn't really sort of hating on growing up on a council
No,
estate.
not at all.
It was just it was just the way I personally was going. The things that excited me were generally the naughty things.
Yeah, of course.
Let's
go put someone's windows through.
It's just who I am. So yeah, for me, it wasn't going to be a good place to start my life, and getting out of there at the age of 17 or whatever was big. It was important.
Yeah, and I think because obviously, as I said, like about our friendship before and stuff, just moving on a little bit. One thing that's really like stuck with me about you is like when you finished uni, you have been a professional working artist since then. Yeah.
I mean, I took I was living in a flat with a ground floor flat with no door. It just opened out onto the street. You know, it didn't have a lockable door. It was basically like a squat that I think we stopped paying for it eventually. But I got a job in a wine merchant briefly when I left uni for, I don't know, a year or so. And then I just worked and painted at night and on the weekends until I was earning enough from my painting to quit my job. And it only took me like 2 years tops.
That's really good going.
And since then, so yeah, it's been that was maybe 2002. But since then, I've just been a full-time working artist, and
that's so impressive, because like you got to think like that's a hard thing to maintain. It's like I've been doing it myself for a few years, and there are other things I do alongside it to make it work in the arts, but to be able to just concentrate on your work and make that work, like there's got to be like probably not even 1% of artists that can do that.
Well, it's a stressful thing to do, and I veered off into tattooing for quite a few years, as you know, but it's still self-employed working creative. It's still now I'm back painting full time. But at times it's such a precarious lifestyle financially, I suppose, that I mean, I'm quite proud of having done that.
You should be, because it's very hard. You never know what's around the corner as well. That's the thing.
No, but usually when things get terrible, the universe provides something. It's a strange thing that just when you think things are going to go badly wrong, you'll sell a painting or something, or you'll get a big commission. Well, that's the way my experience of it has been. And yeah, I've been all right for 20 odd years.
You have. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about your work now and stuff, I reckon. So I've just made some notes here, and what I noticed that really stood out on your website was mastering the old master methods, like putting the research into that. Because I noticed in all your paintings, you always do a big underpainting and then a drawing under it and stuff, and then work on top of that, which takes days before you even properly put some oil paint on the canvas. And there's a lot of layering going on in there. Do you want to? Because I don't know a lot about oil painting, to be honest. So do you want to enlighten me a little bit?
It's classical techniques and indirect painting methods. I think it's me just being a geek. I'm just interested in how the old masters did things, and like just technical painty things. And it's just me nerding out, really. But I think that's become part of my work now. It's an aesthetic used for a point, to make a point, rather than it just being an exercise. But yeah, I mean, I've been studying, glazing and things like that for the best part of 20 years now. Yeah. Just, when I go to a gallery, I'm the guy that stood, right with his nose up against the painting, trying to peer under layers.
I always get told off for doing that. I always get dragged away.
Yes, it's fascinating though, isn't it?
It's one of them, it really shows, because it's one of them, I've only been painting properly and seriously myself for about 6 years now. I did do bits growing up and stuff and whatnot, but taking it seriously, it's only been 6 years. But looking at your work right away, you've developed your own distinctive style where you look at it and you've done it. And I think that's an amazing thing to have. And I really love, there's a lot of things that goes into your work, and I just would not have the patience, for your process. Because some paintings you do can take, at least a month to complete. And there's just so much that go into it. I'll go into your studio and stuff, and something looks absolutely incredible, and you're there beating yourself up over it. And it's just mad how... Well, it's not mad. You just really get lost in your work, you're in part of this journey. So it's just is the craftsmanship that goes into it as important as the finished result?
Yes. I'll say yes. But yeah, it's part of it. Yeah. It's part of it. Because I never really know how they're going to turn out. And I was speaking to another artist about this recently, is that every time I start a painting, I start it in a slightly different way. So there's a different mix of variables. So you're creating problems that have to be solved. Mm-hmm. So every painting, you kind of just chuck a spanner in your own works and then solve the problems. And that's part of the enjoyment and what keeps it interesting and stimulating for me, is that you've worked out a way to do things that will work, change it. So it'll cause you an issue, cause you a bit of pain. Yep. And, so that's my process.
And you've done something really cool in I'd say the last 18 months that has caused you a little bit of pain, but it's also bridged the old traditional stuff that you've been studying with the modern day stuff. You've put a lot of glitchy things in your work by slightly unaligning pieces, certain segments in the paintings. And I think that creates a really good twist that bridges the gap between the old and the modern.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't really a decision that was made to kind of make things look more modern. It was, I was reading this book by is a neuroscientist called David Eagleman, and he was talking about when we experience the world, our perception is actually just relayed to us. It's through a thing called your internal model. So it's what your brain expects to see, not what you're actually seeing. So my thoughts when I was reading this was that a lot of the time when you're looking at art, you kind of go, right, sort of female figure, drapery, pot plant, and your brain doesn't allow you to fully scrutinize it. And then 10 minutes later, if someone was to ask you, what did you just see? You'd go, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But, did she have 4 fingers? Did what color were her shoes? Your brain's given you an approximation, and it's this thing called the internal model. So I think that when people are looking at art these days, they're not interacting with it in the same way they used to do. They're swiping past it, or they're just giving it a cursory glance, and they're not engaging. And this internal model thing must be really in overdrive. That their absorption of images is so rapid that my thought with the glitches was, well, you disrupt the internal model, you get them to actually go, hang on, what's going on here? So that's the reason the glitches came about. It wasn't, to kind of make them look cool and edgy. It was just hang on, just look closer at this. Do you know what I mean? Think about what I'm doing.
Yeah, and that's you said it there though as well, without kind of saying it, yes, it was done not for that reason, but you're saying people are swiping past things so much these days, especially on social media. And it's just, if it can keep people's attention there for a bit longer to get a more in-depth look.
Well, people need to ask questions, and I don't think they are. I think they're just looking at things and swiping or just walking past or moving on because they think they know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look a bit closer and read the context, or, you know, try to, you know, invest some of your brain power instead of consuming it passively, you're going to get so much more out of art. And that's what I get out of art, you know, is engaging with it, not just kind of going, oh yeah, that's pretty, and moving on and trying to find something more flashy. It's if you engage in something quite mundane, and you're probably going to find there's a richness you didn't expect. And I suppose the glitching's a comment on the fact that that's what is happening in the visual arts generally, in my opinion. Waffle.
I just made a note on this. Like, when I look at your paintings, there's a strong sense of emotion in there, and I get a lot of peacefulness. Like, when I look at something, I see people at peace, like, or just very relaxed in there. I don't see any, like, anger or, like, anything along them lines. It seems pretty calm, but there can also be some chaos going on somewhere else in there. And I think you pull everything together really well with that. And like, one of my favourite things that you do is the use of the colour red. Like, you do a lot of paintings, like maybe of female figures, but they're quite subtle, but there's always a really bold red that's used in there. And I think that really complements really well how you mix it all together.
Well, the red thing started not long after I left art school, and I think it was. I love Caravaggio. I've travelled all over the shops, you know, to see his work. I've seen most of them, I reckon. But like the red fabric in it, it did something to my brain. I just loved it. So it used to be in my work all the time because I just liked the way it looked. But I think now it's still there because I think it's almost like a motif for art that matters, art that's valuable, art that has cultural and historical significance. You know, so if you see the red, it's basically just a little reference to the fact that, you know, art is important. Art is historically something to be revered in society, not passed over. And I suppose it's going back to the same thing as the glitches. It's just a little nod to say, like, look, you know, just put it into this context. Art's important. It's not throwaway. It's not AI. You know, sort yourselves out.
Fair. All right, cool. So, just there, you've had a great career, like where you are up to now. You've exhibited in London, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Glasgow, Manchester. You've had stuff in New York, but in May this year, you had a portrait in the Royal Society of Portrait Painters down in London, which is a really cool thing that happened. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about how that came about and
I was pleased with that one.
You should be pleased about it. It's really, really cool.
It was really nice. It's a nice, what a great feeling to be exhibited in a room full of the best portrait painters kicking about in Britain and, you know, beyond. But it's to be in that company, to be considered in that company was massively good for my self-esteem.
Good.
Because I think it's easy to start devaluing yourself when all you see is your own studio. So yeah, that was brilliant. But the portrait itself, I think, was important.
Big time.
It's for those that haven't seen it, it's a portrait of a friend of mine and my partner's who's got some pretty prominent keloid scars on her neck and chest, and it's a bit of a tale. But we were at her birthday party, and she announced that she filmed a documentary about the impact these scars had on her development as an adult and self-esteem and, you know, things like that. And it touched me because I've suffered from psoriasis all my life, and I know how it impacts you in so many ways, your confidence, you know, how you do things socially, what holidays you go on, and, you know, what you wear. It restricts you, it stops your growth. And, you know, her story was just like, that's powerful. And the Royal Society competition was coming up, and I thought, well, it's a great opportunity to actually do some good with art, to actually take this documentary and give it another platform. So I asked Ada if she'd do it, and she reluctantly said yeah. And it kind of got legs, It was on ITV. She was on the ITV news and the BBC. And I think she's doing work with the BBC at the moment around this sort of thing. I don't know.
Cool.
I've not spoken to her in a few weeks, but it kind of snowballed, and it got attention, from the British Skin Foundation, and and she was getting people messaging her on Instagram and things like that, saying, "Oh my God, this has just helped me so much," and it's been so good for that reason. Never mind, what it's done for my visibility. It kind of worked perfectly for what I intended. It was good. It was good. I'm proud of that as a thing. Yeah.
The portrait was incredible. Like, it's just so, I don't know, you've captured everything so well. Like, the emotion on her face is great. All the detail in there, the shadows and everything. It's a wonderful piece of work. We'll include it in a slide somewhere on so people can see it when this goes up. But we've got an exhibition with you happening here later this year, haven't we?
You lucky people.
I know, we're very lucky. So we've not got a name for it yet, have we? But we can say the show is going to run from the 30th of October to the 8th of November. And I don't know, with your stuff being a bit classical and gothic, we thought it'd be a good idea to have a fancy dress party for the launch night. So,
well, it's
let's discuss.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the stuff's got like a folk tale, fairy tale. A lot. If you look at a lot of the titles of my paintings, it's the kind of references to fairy tales and things. And doing a fancy dress party, we've already got a theme there, haven't we?
Of course
really?
we have.
And I think there's a bar opening, is there?
Oh, there is a bar opening.
What's the bar called, Dex?
What we call Flamingos, which I think's great.
Yeah.
Nothing pretentious here. Not top floor at 1853.
Flamingos in Oldham.
Sort of straight out of Benidorm. That'll do. But yeah, no, there's were you saying, like, yes, fairy tales massively inspirational to your work, like a lot of folklore and stuff going in there as well. And I've just been we were just talking about it before. You're working on a new self-portrait as well for this show, aren't you? And I think it's brilliant. I've seen the sketch. I've seen the photograph that you're working off. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
It's actually for another portrait competition. It's there's a big self-portrait competition every 2 years. And I was originally going to do me as a jester. Love it. As a little bit of a nod to the artists. It's kind of this performative role that social media has given us. It's a bit on the nose, but I couldn't get the costume because it was too small. So I've gone for Richard. Is it Richard? No, who's the Mad King? Is it Richard III? George III. That's it. The Mad King. So I've I went to the theatre in town. I can't remember the name of it now. What's
I don't know.
You went. I was there the other week. The costume department, the Royal Exchange Theatre costume department, and I've got myself a straitjacket, a pair of those, short frilly trousers with the white tights and the buckle shoes.
Looks dead smart.
Oh, it's great. So, yeah, the Mad King is the new self-portrait.
You need to attend the opening night of that show in that gear.
A bit warm.
Don't matter.
A bit warm.
You can't put a price on the craft. You need to look $1 million. Thank you for coming on, mate. We've wanted to get you on here for a while. Thank you for your time. If you don't already, make sure to check Dylan's work out on all social media platforms. Do you want to plug your socials for us, Dylan?
It's Instagram, Dylan Lisle Art, and dylanlisle.com.
So go and do that. Go show him some love, and we'll see you at the exhibition in October.
Many thanks.